Good evening, San Bernardino. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I'm just going to be giving an update, so I want to make sure everybody can see. So I'll give you a couple minutes. I know 6 minutes late, but just want to make sure I have the information correct. So, okay, I'm on now. Go ahead and share this if you can. And we'll get started because we got some good stuff. Things are happening, as always. Things are going on in our city. So we got to talk about it. And we're going to talk about a couple things. We are going to talk about the public records request. I'm going to fill you guys in on the most important things that I have requested. We'll kind of talk about the other stuff. And then we're just going to cover two of the things that happened last night at the meeting, because I know for many of you, you were very upset. So let's get into this. Okay. So at the last meeting, that was a workshop meeting for the city council at the end of January, we heard an entire discussion going on about the city manager moving in a direction to go out and get a bond on City Hall. And we went over that last time, what a bond was, but it's basically, for those that didn't watch, a credit card in the name of the taxpayers, with interest and on what the city's doing, you pay it back to go out and build City Hall or retrofit it. And we were all shocked, including the council, because no one had ever heard of this before. And so I want to make sure that you guys hear an excerpt from what was said by the city manager to the only council person that spoke up, Councilwoman Calvin. And then you'll hear what the response was to my records request. Hi, Mike. Hi, Paula. Thank you guys for watching. So in the public meeting, it was recorded. This is from verbatim, Charles Montoya. It says, we already have a letter of intent with them. And he's talking about Stifel. This is a company that does bonding. And all the project personnel put on this will go ahead and be reimbursed through the bond proceeds. So what he's speaking to is that he had people come and present to the council in the study session, quote unquote study session, where no votes of action happen. And he said that he's already signed a letter of intent. We already have this letter of intent with this company. And once this bond that nobody has approved goes through, they're going to be reimbursed for all of the work that they did. So we need to start moving ahead. And they're one of the top companies in the United States. So here comes Councilwoman Calvin. If you don't mind me asking, what was that cost? Calvin inquired. So what she's asking is, what is the actual cost of this reimbursement of having them? Like, what are we going after? And he said, we're still working on that, said Montoya. It's not a final cost yet. We'll know as soon as we know what the bond issuance is and what the market rates are for those type of things. And so he says, we don't have a final cost yet, but that we will be rolled into the bond proceeds. Okay. So Councilwoman Calvin says, so we just opened up a contract with Stifel, but we don't have any idea of the number, the amount that it's going to cost. He said, when you do bond proceeds, this is how the process works nationwide. And she said, they've already been identified though? Montoya says yes. And so she asked the only question that you can respond to when someone tells you that they've just contracted to move on an $80 million project. So we didn't need to go out for an RFP, a request for proposal, and seek bids for that. And he said, no, we did not. It's crazy, you guys. And then proceeded to say, when she said, "Didn't you need to ask us?" And he said, "No, I didn't need your approval." Alarming. Illegal, by the way, not just alarming, but I guess the alarming the sense of how illegal it is for anyone in the public sector to be able to sign a city up for an $80 million credit card without going out to see, forbid, who would take the bond issuance, going out and actually finding out the cost of what it will take to retrofit City Hall. Or how about just getting the council to have ever given a direction for us to go that way? This has never happened. We never have ever had this conversation. And yes, this has been reported. You guys, I see your comments is really good. Yeah, this is being reported to the grand jury for investigation, public integrity unit. And we're gonna get into that, what I've been having to do, because this is unreal. And I want to make sure I give a shout out to Mr. Mike Hartley last night, who gave a public comment on this letter of intent, because as he stated in what a letter of intent is, it's a document declaring a preliminary commitment of one party to do business with another and outlines the chief terms of the prospective deal. Now, as spoken, and just in case you guys know, it comes with carrying some terms of their I'm sorry, terms of like real payment behind it. So it's saying, we intend to do this with you. And a part of that, as Mike pointed out, also comes with terms and conditions of payment, even if you don't move forward, because there's a cost associated with preparing all of these things. So what this means is, even if this doesn't happen, someone's getting paid. We may not be in the millions of dollars, but someone's going to be getting paid out of this. And it's this firm that Montoya has claimed that he's worked with, where there's no records of him doing this. We can't find it. I've looked. And he just handpicked this group that is going to do a bond measure. So what this means, I went in, right? Here's what he said. He said, "We've already have the letter of intent with them." So I requested it. I said, "Well, I want to see that letter. What did you sign?" And the report back from the city manager's office is, no document exists. There is no document. So my question, when I responded with exactly what he said verbatim, was, did he lie to the council, or is he withholding the public record? That's the how does a document that he said he already had not exist? Remember, this is what is so important about the transparency behind what we deal with in the city, because we went through this. We went through this with Robert Field, when they were trying to keep documents from coming out, when they were hiding different, the entire playbook. No one knew what was coming until we did a public records request. $3.5 million in contracts nobody knew of until we did a public records request. So it is so unnerving to do a public records request for a record that a city manager said existed, that he coordinated with a firm that he brought here without an RFP process for an $80 million project that now does not exist. So, beat that horse a little bit for you guys, but yeah, Keith, yeah, bankruptcy. And look, I am going to do, I know that some of you have asked if I will do like a a tutorial on what bonding means for us and in general, and I'm absolutely happy to do that. So that is something I will put together so that you guys, as we as a community, understand the process, because as we know right now, with everything that's going on economically, bonds are highly dependent on the rate of inflation and what your dollar is worth when you take it versus when you're as you're paying it back and as you're applying it towards the process. I can only imagine. Thank God this guy wasn't here when we were first coming out of COVID and inflation was just going out of control with the now things costing 3 times the cost that it did pre-COVID. Like you guys, bankruptcy, $80 million is almost half of our entire operating budget as a city. We're up in almost to $200 million, and this is only one of the almost $100 million projects that he wants to start. So thank you guys. Be very aware, be very vigilant. This is one records request. The next public records request that I asked for was for his calendar. So what has come to light throughout the community is that Charles Montoya is holding multiple meetings, as with Stifel, with John Valdivia, and there are people coming in and out of City Hall that the council is not aware of, and deals are being made and struck. And so I requested his calendar. Now, I want to remind us, you're going to hear me say this again in a little bit. The guy has only been here since November 1st. So it's November, December, January. It is February 22nd. He's been here for 3.5 months. And they're telling me that they have to extend my request to get his calendar. That's the lack of transparency. Because who's on it? I requested to know what meetings he's attended and who's been attending these meetings. So, fun for everyone. Okay, now, talked about this before. This is what I want to make sure that we cover. So, getting the letter of intent has been a struggle, but remember, I just said this a couple minutes ago. One of the things that was so detrimental when Robert Field was moved out of his position as city manager was doing the public records request and finding out that there was $3.5 million expended through his signing authority that nobody knew about. And this is my biggest issue with the council. We used to have a $50,000 signing authority, which Robert Field had was $50,000. Anything over that, he would have to come to council for approval. So just with $50,000 availability per contract, per vendor, he was able to open $3.5 million in contracts without anybody's knowledge. So what does the council do? Let's go give the next guy $100,000 signing authority. So now this person can go and open contracts up to $100,000 without anybody's knowledge. So now it takes 10 contracts to get to $1 million. It's unreal. And this is how I believe, and we'll find out through public records, that he's already been able to maneuver some of these companies behind the scenes. Because if the letter of intent, right? So if we do not become fully contractually obligated to be with Stifel in the bonding process, because council very could well and probably should vote down this bonding measure, they're going to still want money. They're still going to want to be reimbursed for their time. And that's where his ability for $100,000 is going to be able to take effect. So they're going to get paid anyways. So I've requested this. I'm hoping that it won't be delayed. And again, for someone that's only been here 3.5 months, I really hope he has not entered into any $100,000 contracts, because what does he know and what is he doing? So be prepared. As soon as that comes out, I will let you know. Okay. I have also requested all of his communications. This is separate from the letter of intent. Now, what really threw myself and members of the community off was how well prepared this whole retrofit of City Hall through a bonding had been. And it didn't seem like this was by chance. Now, knowing that on January 4th, he met with John Valdivia, I made sure to also check his emails for any correspondences between him and John Valdivia or in Susie Sorensen through email. When I requested all communications between Montoya and Susie Soren and Stifel, I got a response back. Now remember, 3.5 months. So I didn't say, I asked for all communications. It's only this, first of all, they were only presented to the council 3 weeks ago. He's been the city manager for 3.5 months, and Susie Soren became the deputy city manager a month ago. And I really would like to make sure we mention how Susie Soren has taken over for the city manager, that you go to her first. She is above even the assistant city manager, Eddie Eveland, as far as correspondences. So I asked for all of this information, and the city clerk responded back and wanted me to narrow down my search because the city would anticipate that it would take months to retrieve this information because of a potential high volume of communications for the city manager. A potential of high volume communications for a firm that no one's ever heard of, for a city manager that's only been here for 3.5 months. Months of research? I can't believe that I'm the only person that thinks that's a problem. And they put it in writing. This is what always gets me, is these are their own words. And so I did what I do. I broke it down. I said, okay, if all is too much for you, then I'm going to request November through November, December 1st through the end of December. And so I broke it down month by month by month and resubmitted all 5 requests. And for different people, created keywords so that they could easily search the database. And then I got a response back and was like, oh, is that what you mean? Yeah, that's what I mean. I want all of it. Every communication, every email. So we'll see. We will see if we get this. But I promised, and I want to make sure that I keep my promises to our community, that we would stay very vigilant on what he's doing, because he has a horrible history. Hang on one second. He has a horrible history with fiscal mismanagement, with overspending, with wanting to hide audits, and all of this stuff is recorded when he came out of Colorado. It's recorded when he came out of Arizona. And it's starting here, and it's starting so quickly. I think that's my biggest fear in all of this, is how rapidly he has gone back into his old habits. And remember, he couldn't get a job for over a year. And I am going to go do a record search for his for the case that he is currently being investigated by the Attorney General of Arizona, so that we can stay abreast of that. Because remember, he's suing to get his old job back. That's what he's saying, is that he countersued and said, I want my job back. And it hasn't happened. So we will do an update on that. But I wanted to share something too, as we were talking about bonding and everything. But there are risks involved, and that's why we got to make sure that the conversation is being made public on, is the city well aware of the risk? Is the community aware of the risk with everything that's happening? And so I will share everything that I get with you guys. And even as your next council person in the 7th Ward, this won't stop. It'll actually be way easier for us to get access to this, because when a city manager sits across from me on the dais and says, I signed a letter of intent, my first reaction will be, make sure I have a copy of that before this meeting is over. Go ahead, one of you high-paid city manager, deputies, assistants, get that done. Because there's no way you went and signed an $80 million letter of interest, letter of intent, and didn't get my permission. So just want you to be very aware. Okay, so this is it for my public records requests. And now there are multiple. I think there's about 8 to 10 of them individually. So as they come in, I will let you know. Now, we'll talk about the meeting real quick. Last night was very interesting. And we had a hot mic moment that has upset so many people and myself. And I think it just speaks to everything that's going on, all of this record hiding, all of this, these magical, projects that have never been discussed publicly going on. And so last night there was a PBID potential item coming up on PBID. And so I got up after one person who was in favor of this entire PBID project and gave a 3-minute comment, very, very nicely done. And I got up to give my comment on the same exact agenda item, like the same one. And Fred Charette, within, 30 seconds of hearing my opposition to creating a PBID in the Carousel Mall project area, because that has never, ever been discussed in the city, that the city manager, in the same meeting that he disclosed he's got an $80 million contract coming, said that he was going to be the master developer for the Carousel Mall project. So I said, hey, where's the community input? Where is the transparency? And Fred Charette could do anything, to try and stop my comment. He interrupted. He said, we're not allowed to discuss it. And as the city attorney had to remind this 14-year councilman how public comments work for a meeting, was absolutely within my right. Well, it upset Fred Charette that I was able to give my comment and speak to exactly what the city manager said. And so while he thought the mic was off, he called me, and we're going to use this. I'm not opposed to swearing. You guys know, you've watched my videos. Cussing isn't what gets me. But as a council person, there's a time and a place. Go do a live stream. You can cuss all you want. He called me a piece of charrette. That's what we're gonna start calling it. And I have to give credit. I didn't come up with that. I thought one of our awesome ladies, Barbara, came up with this. And he said I was full of charrette. So I know that there are many of you out there who have emailed the council, have reached out to the news about this, and while I appreciate it, what I really want to make sure that we really discuss is that how much our city and our residents are disrespected. And I'm not just talking about me. I've watched almost every meeting I've been to in 5 years where council members ignore the community, talk to each other, talk over residents. I once attended a closed session meeting where I was the only public speaker, and Damon Alexander turned his back to eat an ice cream cone. I have watched people be argued with. I have watched council members lie about residents and yell out over the microphone. This has to stop. This behavior, this adversarial relationship towards our own community is unreal. It's not everybody's job to like everybody. That's impossible. But it is the job of an elected official to listen, to hear what the community says, and they may not like it. And I watch some of the people get up and try to cover for bad behavior for their elected officials and excuse and say, oh, I would never want to do your job. No, of course you wouldn't. Because who wants to be held accountable? Accountability hurts. Accountability isn't nice. Especially when your interest that you're serving is not the community's interest. And so last night, what we caught Fred Charette saying on a hot mic is what he says when he doesn't think anybody can hear him. And what we catch in our public records request is what elected officials and city administrators do when they don't think anybody can see them. It's systemic. It's so strongly pulling our city down. It irks me when people call residents complainers. We pay to live here. We pay the highest sales tax in the Inland Empire. And these elected officials, minus Kimberly Calvin, can't bear to hear us. So this is what I appreciate everybody. But this is why you got to vote. This guy's been here for 14 years. This is the best the Fourth Ward can do. And I used to have a really good relationship with Fred, but now he is really nothing more than a piece of charrette because of how he treats our community, because of how he views anybody who wants to try to do better than what we've been doing. So keep it. You guys can use it. We made Valdivia's famous. Let's so you're not ever caught swearing, piece of charrette. And last but not least, this is my plug. The meetings have been moved to 5 p.m. officially. So we have been discussing, giving public comments, reaching out to elected officials, not to move the meetings from 7 p.m. for the public to 5 p.m. It's just too hard. And the council majority did not care, which only speaks to who they serve. As Teddy Sanchez said, I want to make sure that the lawyers and the developers can make it here on time. Time is money. Not worried that the community that is one of the poorest in the Inland Empire, that unlike the very what a privilege retiree who doesn't work, isn't going to take off 2 hours to come down and stand in front of the city council who doesn't care, who cuts them off, who swears at them. Let's be real. And so San Bernardino, as we have 12 days left before the March 5th primary, all I can ask is that you guys go vote. If you don't like what you see, change it. And nobody has the power to do that but you. Every single person in our community that is registered to vote should have. Now you should absolutely have a ballot at your home. And if you don't, you can still go get one and make your choice. There are 4 seats up for grab. If you want San Bernardino to be better, write in Kimberly Calvin in the 6th. Vote for Christian Shaughnessy in the 3rd, and vote for me in the 7th. Otherwise, you get more pieces of charrette. So thank you guys. I appreciate you so much. I will continue to post and make sure that you are completely aware of everything that's happening in our community. And have a great rest of your week. Tomorrow's Friday. Enjoy the sunny weekend before the rain hits. And please don't hesitate to put in your comments or message me, whatever you guys need, and have a good night, San Bernardino.